Ariel is the Empress of the Southern Mountain Pedestrian. She is always on red. She was the ruler of the imperial court, and was also the of the imperial court for centuries. This is one of the first times the Southern Pedestral is being ruled by a woman. It was the indignation of the court. Who would rather torch the pedestrian than see a woman on the throne? Thus far, Ariel had proved herself worthy to have taken the title Empress. She had a huge responsibility and had to be up to the task. It was the imperative of her clan to give birth to twins. The family and the royal kindred were into sides. One of the sides gave birth to straight children, a boy and a girl. The other side, Ariel's side, gave birth to twins, a boy and a girl. There are very rare cases of to boys and to girls, but it would be an abomination to the kingdom, as well as the court, and would bring calamity, as one of the child would be a normal breed, while the other would be literally a beast. So, it was for the safety of the pedestral that this doesn't happen. For the first time in many cases of birth, Ariel came out alone, and no twin followed her. The other royal family could not have a child. Talk more of a male representative to later take the throne. This left their clan in peril and danger. And Ariel, the sole representative to the throne, it was very imperative for Ariel to take the task of bolstering the royal family and increasing their power. Since she was the only representative, she had to get married impromptu, and as soon as possible, have children, so her line would continue, and they will be better defended against anyone who dares mess with or challenge them. Ariel was fierce, up to the challenge, bold, responsible, equal to the task, and had the strong qualities of a good ruler and empress. She had meetings with her council members, and sometimes insisted on going on royal progress tours to know how the common people fared. This made her very dear to them. They would adore her. Ariel tried to cover up in denial, but she had a gentle heart. She just wanted to show the ruling court that she was a strong leader, making her fearless, ruthless, and boisterous. These were all attributes that she portrayed while in her council, but with the people she was loving and gentle. Her mother, the Empress Dowager, and her uncle, the army general, were regents who handled the affairs of the government council. If she were to get married, her husband would also be a part of the ruling council as emperor consort. They had high expectations for him, but she had different expectations. While he had to be an affluent man because he was going to immerse great power as the empirical consort, Ariel wanted him to be loving, and to be for her only dear to her heart. She wanted him to take care of her, and love her immensely, because she needed it. Since she was dealing with enough on her plates, her mother, the Empress Dowager, and her uncle, the army general, were always keen to remind her of her responsibilities in providing an heir, to bolster that, the royal family, and increase their power, so that other pedestrials will not deem her weak, as well as the pedestral and settle to invade. And for this to happen, she had to get married first. They did well to always remind her, as she even carried the burden with her while sleeping. She did not want to have a husband. She wanted love, and the rest can later fall in line. She was very uninterested in the idea of marriage, and only thought of it as a responsibility. The pedestral did well to welcome a prince from the northern pedestrian to stay as her guest and get to know her. So in the days that came, they can talk about marriage. Ariel at sight was not interested in this fellow, and did not want to get to know him, but she sought to give him a chance. She did very well to let him in, but he just couldn't give at the times of them getting to know each other. They became familiar, and Ariel began to see him as a friend. No matter what he does, he will never be able to capture the Empress's heart. When her uncle asked her if she was ready to accept the prince, and what she thought of him, Ariel replied that she just saw him as a friend, and would never agree to marry him. She said that he and her don't bond in that kind of way, and can never go on romantically. This brought him disappointment. He told Ariel that what she needed at the moment didn't matter, and she had to fulfill responsibility. Then all the other else can come later. But Ariel was adamant, stating that she simply wanted what she wanted. The Empress Dowager was distraught to hear this. What did Ariel mean by she wanted what she wanted and wasn't going to fulfill her responsibility? In wrath, in the presence of all gathered at the government council, her mother told her that she had a year to think of a way to get what she wants, or decide if she wants to be the empress, and fulfill her responsibility. If a year passes, she would marry anybody the council chooses for her, and that was fine. Now, she also told Ariel that during the year, they were going to be bringing possible suitors for her hand in marriage, and she had no right to decline them whatsoever. Well, this shock came in haste, and though Ariel was not pleased about it, the court had taken their decision. Inasmuch as she had no choice, she had to fulfill her responsibilities. After some time of contemplation, Ariel came to an agreement with. At the times of them getting to know each other, they became familiar, and Ariel began to see him as a friend. No matter what he does, he will never be able to capture the Empress's heart. When her uncle asked her if she was ready to accept the prince, and what she thought of him, Ariel replied that she just saw him as a friend, and would never agree to marry him. She said that he and her don't bond in that kind of way, and can never go on romantically. This brought him disappointment. He told Ariel that what she needed at the moment didn't matter, and she had to fulfill responsibility. Then all the other else can come later. But Ariel was adamant, stating that she simply wanted what she wanted. The Empress Dowager was distraught to hear this. What did Ariel mean by, she wanted what she wanted and wasn't going to fulfill her responsibility? In wrath, in the presence of all gathered, at the government council, her mother told her that she had a year to think of a way to get what she wants, or decide if she wants to be the Empress, and fulfill her responsibility. If a year passes, she would marry anybody the council chooses for her, and that was fine. Now, she also told Ariel that during the year, they were going to be bringing possible suitors for her hand in marriage, and she had no right to decline them whatsoever. Well, this shock came in haste, and though Ariel was not pleased about it, the court had taken their decision. Inasmuch as she had no choice, she had to fulfill her responsibilities. After some time of contemplation, Ariel came to an agreement with herself that it was necessary to get to know somebody and fall in love. Love will definitely come to her, not in this palace, and she had to look for it. She told her uncle that she has come to a resolution to find love, not in this castle, or in the pedestrial, but in the normal world. No one was going to stop her, and she was going, so they should all handle things in her absence. Her uncle tried to dissuade her from going, but she was persistently adamant and refused, saying that it is not necessary to get love and married in order to bolster the royal family, right? Her uncle then allowed her to go. Ariel set out to the normal world. She would have to go on with a different life as Aggie, so that no one would recognize her there. It was a joy for Ariel to be in the normal world, feeling its ambience. She had never longed for it as much. This had been what she had been missing since she had been at court. The fresh breeze, the beautiful skies, seeing her mountains from a distance. She had never felt so better. She toured and began to wander the towns and cities. Ariel visited the temple where they gave her a red thread called the red thread of faith, entangling her with her lover forever. She needed to go to the temple to pray. That she did. She entered the temple and prayed to God that she was able to find her love, who would be madly in love with her, and would go through any lengths for her, and with her. He would marry her, and they would live happily ever after, bearing plenty sets of twins, and ruling the kingdoms in peace. This was her dream, and she hoped it was being fulfilled. She went out of the temple with expectations of an answer to her prayers. Just then, as she came out, she suddenly bumped into a man who was fast on his pace, and did not recognize her. There she stopped in awe, and gazed at him with beauty as he ran. Oh, my God. He had very long curly hair, and was very thickly structured, like a sculpture. This was the kind of man she had stayed up all night, dreaming about. He was very handsome, and his body exuded impeccable muscularity as he ran. Never had she been so taken aback. There and then, she sought to make him hers. This man must be mine, she thought. I must get him. He has to be mine at all costs, all mine. It was clear that she had fallen head over heels in love with this man, and there was no going back. She also sought to go after him. He was, though, chasing someone or something. Where she went to the place he headed, it was a thick bush. He had cornered the spirit. There were two of them, but he only got his hands on one, and he was going to find the other one sooner or later. He caught this one and put up a gruesome fight, which he finally won, and imprisoned the spirit. While Ariel gazed at him, drooling over him, she caught sight of an idea. She immediately went to find the other spirit the hunter was looking for. She had surmised that this man was a dark arts hunter. When she found him, She told him that the hunter had definitely laid eyes on him and would catch him, no matter where he runs to. He knows this, but she can help if he agrees to help her. The spirit agreed, and they made a plan. Ariel wanted to have a romantic meet cute with this gorgeous man, and she set her mind on it. She was going to achieve it, and the rest would fall into place. She was going to make sure that she wooed and seduced this man, making him fall madly in love with her. This man had caught the first spirit and was looking for the other one. He wandered around the forest, calling it to come forth and face him. Suddenly, a girl rushed out from the branches in the forest and was screaming, "Help me, help me." He saw this and was in shock. Suddenly, the spirit came out and struck her with an arrow right there before she and he were close, and she fell into his arms. This man was in a panic. She had been hit with the spirit's poison. He tried patting her on her cheeks constantly to keep her in check and awake, but slowly, as she gazed upon him in lost admiration, her eyes closed, and now she was unconscious. This man kindly dropped her on the ground and paced towards the spirit in great speed. He began to fight the spirit and collected the nectar from him. He ran after, imprisoning the spirit in his orb. He took the girl to the camp where he had set while living in the normal world. He wasn't from the normal world. His name was Abel. Abel was a warrior prince from the northern mountain pedestal. His elder brother was heir to the throne, and his father was the emperor. Since he was a prince, he was in charge of the forces, directed towards securing the borders, and for war. Abel never wanted much in life, but his father adored him so much that his brother feared their father would make him emperor instead. But that was not what Abel wanted. He just wanted a simple and jovial life. In order to flee from the drama of responsibilities from the palace, he had to come to the normal world, where he was tasked with the responsibility, hereinafter, of catching spirits. He was a dark arts hunter and tried to make sure that no spirits and other living creatures, most especially humans. Now Abel took this girl to his fort. He kindled and camped a fire, laid her beside it, so she would heat up. He then used the nectar he got from the spirit to heal the girl after extracting the poison from her. She stabilized, and after some time, she woke up. She was delighted to be looking at the gorgeous man with contempt, who also gazed at her. "Don't eat me with your eyes. I know I'm handsome, and I hope you don't fall for me," he said. She immediately snapped herself from the trance she put herself in and adjusted. He then asked, "What was a helpless girl doing in the forest like that? Did you invite a spirit to come torture you?" "No. I was going in the forest looking for herbs. I don't know where to go. I actually don't have a place," she said. "Who are you, and where do you live?" Abel asked. "I am Aggie, and I don't know where I am coming from. I don't seem to remember much, and I don't know where to go except here. Thank you so much for saving me, for being my knight in shining armor. But who are you, and what is your name?" she asked, coming very close to him as she trailed her fingers from his shoulder to his back, making him very uncomfortable, as she was clearly seducing him. "I am Abel, and as you can see, I am a dark arts hunter," he said, uncomfortably, as Ariel continued moving closer, approaching his lips, smiling. "Oh, I can see that. A hunter helping a damsel in distress. I should give you a proper thank you for saving my life," she said, as she was on the bed, and him sitting beside her. She continued approaching his lips slowly, to lean for a kiss, as he felt uncomfortable and somewhat shy. He couldn't have this, so he stood up immediately and asked quickly, "What are you doing?" "Nothing," she replied, still smiling. "Just saying thank you," she said, as he continued. "You were struck by the spirit's poison and cannot move, so you can't leave yet. You have to stay here for a while as I treat you, and you heal, then you can leave. So just stay here temporarily," he said, pointing to her injury with her on the bed, as she smiled at him in a seductive manner, and said, "Oh, I have no intention of leaving here, so don't worry." Ariel made her meet cute. She had entered this man's life as a helpless damsel in distress. He didn't know her, and she did not know him as well, but Ariel was fixed on seducing this man and making him hers. This was her next plan of action, as she would make sure that she didn't fail in that. Ariel began to stay with Abel in the camp fort. Her injury had not yet healed, the injury she so kindly inflicted on herself, just to meet Abel and make him save her. She was hot in her plans now. She had to help the spirits she had made a deal with. As Abel treated Ariel's injury, she tried to become close with him, all for the sole purpose of seducing him and making him fall for her, which would make him uncomfortable until he could see what she was doing and began to indulge her. When he would be treating her, she would try to move close to him and make advances on him, but normally, he would try moving back or make her stop. But this time, when she moved closer, he would move closer to her as well, and she would be shocked. It made her intrigued when she looked at him. He would smile, sending chills down her spine. He would look at her skin and see goosebumps after he had slowly traced his fingertips on them. "Naughty girl," he said. "I know your tricks. You're trying to make me fall for you, but you're falling for me, right?" He asked her, but she gazed, eye open in surprise, and would smile sheepishly. "Who told you that? I don't know what you're talking about," she denied. As Ariel was trying to woo Abel, she would also keep her part of the deal, which was freeing the spirit that helped her in meeting Abel. They were all locked up in his orb, which was always on his belt. He never lets it off except when he's bathing. He would have to remove it. Ariel tried several times to get the orb off him, but he wouldn't budge. She tried stealing it from him on countless occasions, but it just seemed very impossible. One of the times when he was sleeping, she tried sneaking into his room to steal it, but found out he was awake. She tried quietly taking it while he was sleeping, but he moved to place his hands on it, which now made it impossible. So she had to try taking it from him. When he took off his clothes anytime he was bathing, she would always come to peep at him when he was bathing, and he seldomly noticed. When he did notice, he would immediately try to cover up and send her out of there. Sometimes unknowingly, he put on a show as she watched when he bathed. He would wonder why she would peep continuously. For her, she hadn't got a perfect opportunity to steal the orb, until a time came when she came to the bathroom to peep. After some time, he found out and shouted for her to get out, who in turn told him that she had dry cleaned his clothes and had brought them for him, and she was going to take the other ones. He agreed, and she hastily took the clothes, as well as his belt, which was securing the orb. The real reason she had been visiting the bedroom was to find the perfect opportunity to use up the orb. This time was a success. Wow. While Abel was wondering if Ariel had fallen so hard for him and decided to ogle at him, dreaming by of the day she would have him, it was the cause of his good looks. Ariel took the orb and freed the spirit, telling him that she had fulfilled her part of the deal and that the spirit should flee. Before Abel notices, it is gone. Abel was done bathing, and as he came out, he saw that his belt holding the orb was no longer there. Now, suspecting that Ariel had taken it, he immediately and quickly wore his clothes and ran out to see Ariel, talking to the spirit as it was about to depart. He was then shocked and finally became aware of Ariel's intentions. Abel proceeded to immediately seize the orb and blockade the spirit, but Ariel intersected him, giving the spirit time to escape. Abel put up a fight with Ariel, measuring her powers. He was shocked to know that Ariel was so powerful. "You are so powerful, yet you have been pretending all this while to be a damsel in distress. Who are you? And what are your intentions?" Abel asked. "Now that you know who I am, and how powerful I am, you must submit to me, and do as I ask." Ariel replied. "No," Abel objected. "You will leave at once, since I cannot be safe with you." Abel continued, adamantly. Ariel decided to leave immediately. Abel went to the spirit's nest, where the escaped spirit had hurried to, and once again captured the spirit in his orb, alerting the other spirits who decided to conspire against him. Now an attack was inevitable. Hunters do not enter their forts, and Abel had the effrontery and audacity to do so. This was an attack on the spirit kingdom as a whole, and they would not take it lightly. Abel immediately ran to call Ariel back, telling her that he had launched a war with the spirit fort, and her life could also be in danger. So she had to stay a few days with him out of compulsion and help him fight these spirits, since it was because of her that this started in the first place. And since she was strong, Ariel adamantly agreed to stay, since Abel was requesting and begging, while the latter said he was not begging. She just had to stay for her safety. Ariel turned and told him that even though he did not tell her, she would stay as a way to thank him for saving his life. As she turned back on Abel, he silently made rejoicing gestures behind her back, so happy that she was staying. But when Ariel immediately turned to face him, he framed a serious and agitated look. One would wonder if Ariel was aware of what he was doing behind her as she smiled and suddenly started approaching him. As she approached him seductively, he moved back until he bumped into a table behind him and abruptly sat on it. She asked him if he wanted to help her because he had begun an attack on the spirit fort, or if he was asking for her help since he launched an attack on the spirit fort on purpose, so he could keep her here for the time being. He got up, trying to escape her face, which was now very near his. She had moved very close to him. He then said he didn't know what she was talking about. She then smirked. "Oh, you naughty boy. What am I going to do about you?" she said, and quickly leaned in to plant a deep kiss on his lips. His eyes were open as the kiss came impromptu. After a while, her lips were still on his. She placed her hands on his cheek, and he closed his eyes to reciprocate the kiss. After some time, she pulled away from him. She stood erect, looking at him. She smiled, but he immediately got up from the table as well. So quickly, he placed his hands on her cheeks and leaned in for a deep kiss. Closing their eyes, they sucked on each other's lips. Ariel put her hands around his shoulder as they savored each other's lips. Abel took his hands from her cheeks and placed them on her waist, dragging her so close to him. She felt his broad chest on hers as well, and her nipples grew erect. She began to move her hands through his back as they kissed. She wanted to feel his broad chest as well, so she brought her hands in the middle of their chests to part them. Since they were so close to each other, she traced her hands through his broad chest and let out a moan. It deeply excited her. They were so broad, and she wanted them all to herself. He as well moved his hands through her waist down. He gripped her butt, rubbing his hands around it. He quickly spanked it, making her give a quick moan. "Naughty girl," he said, as he broke the kiss. "So it turns out you're falling head over heels for me," he said, as she was still in his arms. She chuckled. "You are also madly in love with me," she said, as he chuckled. I don't know what you're talking about." He then kept quiet, as he looked away from her eyes, so she wouldn't give that. "He's lying. You see, you lie." "My plan worked after all," she said, as he quickly interjected. "Yes, your plan. Your plan to seduce me. The plan you made with the spirits. You knew you wouldn't die without poison. That's why you took it on purpose, so that I would think you weak and save you. All this just to get to me. Come on. You shouldn't have made such efforts. And you as well, you liked, as I ogle at you in the bathroom. And you wanted me to stay here, so you could make your move to hit on me. That was why you purposely attacked the spirit camp. Your intentions are not pure as well. You shouldn't have gone all this way, since you know I have fallen for you," Ariel said, as they both became shy, finally aware of their motives, exposing each other, making their way to meet each other, and then abruptly laughed heavily. Abel then held Ariel and accompanied her to the table, as he sat, and she sat beside him, placing her head on his shoulder. He then placed his head on her head. "But we don't know each other," Abel said. "Yes, we don't know each other, but I love you nonetheless. And I don't care who you are," Ariel replied. "I don't as well. It doesn't matter who you are. I will love you nonetheless," he replied, as Ariel chuckled. "We don't know each other truly, but we love each other nonetheless. That's ironic." Abel exclaimed. "I though love you, I can't help it. But I've truly fallen head over heels for you," he continued. "You too." Ariel looked at him, smiled, and placed her head back on his shoulders. "I love you too, Abel. I love you so much, naughty boy." Ariel and Abel had fallen in love with each other and spent most of the time together while in their fort. Now the year was almost running, and suddenly Abel's brother came from the northern mountain pedestal. He came to look for Abel, who had been gone for a long time. When Ariel saw his brother, she was shocked. Abel was the warrior prince that was famous throughout the northern mountains. She had now finally figured out who Abel was, but he was unsure of her identity. Abel asked his brother what he was here for, but his brother told him that father was looking for him and had a proposal for him from the Empress of the Southern Mountain Pedestrian. Abel was shocked. The person who was supposed to marry the Empress was not him, but his brother, and it seems like his father is taking him too seriously, as one may take the throne after him. Abel wasn't interested, and aware of his brother, who is also scared Abel might one day become the leader of the clan. And this wasn't Abel's intention. Abel sent his brother back with the message that he's not interested, and that his brother should marry the Empress, saying that he might have already found the love of his life right here in the normal world. While he brought that, took the message back to his father, Ariel told Abel that he might want to give the Empress a chance and get to know her, but Abel rejected her suggestion with scorn, saying he only loves her and wants to be with her. Besides, no one knows the Empress because she's so reserved. He wouldn't want to be with a dominant, narcissistic, impulsive, proud, ruthless, self-reserved, and boring Empress, and he is satisfied with her and their love. Ariel, hearing this, became abruptly worked up and offended, asking Abel how he knew that the Empress was such things. He said he just figured it out, as there are fewer tales of her and more of her ruling council as she is at their disposal. When this made her more offended to hear this, but Abel was surprised, wondering why she was so worked up, since it had nothing to do with her, to which she gave no response. In little time, Abel's brother returned with saddening news that Abel is demanded to see the Empress, or he would be disowned. His brother suggested that he should go and see the Empress, and if he doesn't like her, then he would marry her. At the same time, Ariel's uncle emerged, saying that she is needed at court to keep her word. Ariel told him to behave like her uncle and not her subject, so that Abel wouldn't find out. Abel asked Ariel how she has an uncle, since she has no memory of anyone and had nowhere to go. But Ariel lied, saying that spending time with him has brought back those memories. She suggested that Abel should go see the Empress, as her family is also summoning her, and they should be back here after some time. Abel said that they would not see each other for a long time, but Ariel was unperturbed, saying that they will still unite again. Abel was clearly already missing Ariel. He asked her why she wasn't disturbed that they would be away for a very long time, and behaving like they would just be gone for some days and return. Ariel then had to put on her act and said she would miss him so much. They spent their last time together, said their goodbyes, and departed from each other. Abel went to his pedestrian to see his father, and he told them he was already in love. They said he should go see the Empress and come back. Then his brother might marry the Empress. Abel and his brother made their journey to the southern mountain pedestrian bearing gifts. They were shocked to see the army general, who escorted them to the throne room. As both of them set their eyes on the Empress, they were shocked. Her imperial welcomed them, saying that her guests should feel at home, and that the army general should escort them to their tents, save Abel. When they were now alone, Abel exclaimed how shocked he was, saying that the Empress was so beautiful. Ariel objected, insisting that she thought she was dominant, narcissistic, impulsive, proud, ruthless, self-reserved, and a boring Empress. Abel immediately refused, stating that was not the case. He could now understand why she was so worked up. It was because she was the Empress. Abel tried to soothe her, calm her down, declaring he loves her, and only her, and did not care who she was. The court, as well as the Empress Dowager, was shocked that Ariel accepted to marry the warrior prince. Is it because he was gallant? They were unaware of the drama that unfolded in the normal world. Abel's brother was not happy with the recent developments, and that the Empress was Ariel. He had not expected it. He actually thought he could marry the Empress, now that Abel had fallen in love with another. But while he was at the palace, he discovered something shocking. Ariel had a twin sister, and her uncle had hidden it from the pedestrian, as well as the world. The news had spread since every clan member gives birth to twins. The Dowager Empress was no different, but hers was a girl, and wouldn't be accepted. They had to keep one and kill the other, but on the mother's instructions and plea, the girl was kept and caged somewhere secretly, with his brother's quest for power driving him. He told Ariel that it was either he marries her or drops her position as Empress and marries his brother, willing the throne to her sister. This was after he had revealed to her shock to her that she had a twin sister who she had been estranged from. This broke Ariel. She had to choose between her love and the throne. In the presence of everybody, she refuted her claims to the throne, stating her sister as Empress, who she revealed, and Abel's brother's marriage to her. This shocked the community. It would unnervingly calamity, as they discovered the Empress Dowager and the army general's ruse, who were later punished and stripped off their titles. Abel realized what his brother had planned and wasn't going to allow him to pull his stunts. He made a plan and faked Ariel's death and placed her sister on the throne, insisting and declaring that he would marry the princess on the throne. Thereafter, while everyone thought Ariel dead, she united with her estranged sister in tears, as they had been apart for such a long time. As she occupied her position as Empress and Ariel, they later swapped places in secret, leaving everybody to continue thinking that the sister is on the throne and not Ariel, as she is dead. This was so easy, since she was playing dead, and they were identical. Abel banished and disowned his brother after brutally defeating him in his games, sending him back to their father's contempt and disgust. He hid Ariel's sister in the normal world, where no one would see her or know of her existence. In turn, from time to time, they would go and see her, also visiting from time to time. She was no longer in bondage, but was now free. Abel had proved his worth to the kingdoms, who granted their blessing to Abel and Ariel. Finally, Abel found Ariel, and Ariel found the man of her dreams, the man of her heart. He was gallant enough to sweep her off her feet. They would now be together, as they spent some time in the kingdom, and sometimes in the normal world.